Right, so I'm Alice, and I'm rector of the Shellswell Benefice, which is a group of 8 parishes, 10 churches in North Oxfordshire. They're all tiny villages, tiny churches, tiny congregations, sandwiched between the growing towns of Bicester, Brackley and Buckingham. I applied to come on the Germinate course when I'd been in post about 18 months, and I'd settled in well, built up some good relationships, introduced some things that had seemed to have gone down quite well. So things are all right, but I also had some significant frustrations around various issues, including volunteers, for example. There weren't enough of them. The ones that there were very heavily burdened. They didn't want to take on any more church responsibilities, and they didn't want to be developed in any way. It's very frustrating. Collaborative working. We had a presentation early on on the Germinate course about entrepreneurial leadership. And I realised that in our small ministry team, we were all entrepreneurial leaders and going in different directions entirely. So the question of how to work collaboratively, which is what I aspire to, but still maintain a steer over where we were going, and how to do that without steamrolling my ideas into the picture. Vision. A colleague who has since moved on took to asking me several times fairly early on in my time in the benefice what my vision for it was, which just threw me into an utter panic. I had in mind that it was God's vision and I hoped we were going to discern it together, but quite what it was at that point I didn't know. And I did try to organise a benefice-based event so that together we could begin to do this. The ministry team came, plus 6 others who thought they were there for a Christian Aid lunch. So that was all a bit of a disaster. So I realised at this point it'd be very easy just to settle into keeping the status quo, which wasn't what I wanted to do. And Germinate seemed to be a good way forward to thinking about my role within the benefice. Best things about the programme. I think the biggest really was that opportunity to step back and think about my context, think about my leadership within that, and just have that time to reflect. Also very useful was that I did the course with Flora, who sat over there, who's an extremely active lay member of the benefice. And certainly the earlier part of the course, we travelled back and forwards together, which gave us lots of time to share our reflections and what that meant for us in the benefice. There's some really good presentations that were relevant to leadership in the rural setting, with all sorts of nuggets within them. For example, just to hear that it will take on average 11 years to bring about a significant change in a rural setting is immensely liberating. And work shadowing, I also found very useful. I shadowed the head of a multi-academy trust, who I had heard present at the small primary for which I'm a governor. I liked what she said about her values and about how she used moral purpose as the compass for all that happened within the academy. And I particularly liked that she clearly was an effective leader, but she wasn't one of those instantly charismatic individuals. And it was really useful to see how she worked in practice, how she was actually collaborative in what she did, but did maintain that clear steer. And all sorts of useful lessons from her. How has it impacted on me as a person, as a leader? One is, I think, that I've become less panicky. I've given myself permission to take a longer-term approach to things. They'll take as long as they like, as they take and as they like. Secondly, I'm just beginning to embrace the creative possibilities of conflict. I have realised that recognising that conflict can be useful is very different from having the skills to deal with it. That's the next step. Also beginning, probably because I'm no longer panicking about it, to have a sense of what our vision may be, which interestingly is something about shifting the focus from what we do in church to how we equip people to live out the rest of their lives as Jesus' followers. And both Flora and I are aware that our ministry team is not a team, and we need to do some work on that so that we begin to function more as a team. How has it impacted upon the churches and the context in which I'm based? Well, I think that because I'm being less frenetic, we are being able to take our time in looking at some really challenging issues. For example, over the last year, we've been focusing on the exciting issue of money, but we're being able to do it and give it some depth of thinking. Less positively, as I attempted to embrace this conflict thing, my clumsy intervention means that I managed to crash our children's holiday week, which has functioned very well for over 35 years. But, hopefully from this will emerge a relaunching of an improved and less tired holiday week, hopefully next year. And I became more aware through the course that my congregations probably have a much better sense than I do of what works for their church and their village, how to be church in their setting. And they are hopefully now feeling a little bit more supported by me rather than me coming in to try and get them to do it the right way. So why do Germinate? Well, I think because it does give that really useful opportunity to reflect on how you, with your personality and your skills, work within the setting in which God has put you most effectively. And just having that space is really helpful. So thank you.